Welcome back, Lincoln Currency. In today's video, we're diving deep into the story of one of the most fascinating, misunderstood, and potentially valuable pieces of modern American numismatic history, the humble 2004 1-cent coin. At first glance, it might seem like just another penny, another small copper-plated coin you'd find rattling around in your pocket change or stuck at the bottom of a piggy bank. Most people never even give it a second thought. But what if I told you that this ordinary-looking coin, minted in the millions, might hold secrets worth far more than its face value? What if I told you that certain versions of this 2004 penny could be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars to the right collector? And what if one day, this small piece of copper-plated zinc could be valued at an astonishing $45 million? It might sound unbelievable, but the deeper we dig, the more fascinating this story becomes. The story of the 2004 Lincoln cent isn't just about money. It's about history, symbolism, design, mistakes, rarity, and the strange twists of fate that can transform an everyday object into a priceless treasure. It's about the passion of collectors, the relentless hunt for perfection, and the tiny details that can mean the difference between a coin worth a single cent and one worth a fortune. So buckle up and get comfortable, because we're going to explore everything, from the origins of the Lincoln cent itself, to the specific features of the 2004 Denver minted version, to the wild world of errors, varieties, and market demand that drive its incredible value. Let's start at the beginning. The United States 1-cent coin, commonly known as the penny, has been in circulation since 1793. It's the longest-running denomination in U.S. coinage, and its design and composition have changed several times over the centuries. But perhaps no version of the penny is more iconic than the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner, the obverse, that's the front of the coin, features a right-facing portrait of Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, whose leadership during the Civil War preserved the Union and abolished slavery. Brenner's design marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a U.S. coin, and it has remained a staple of American currency for well over a century. Over time, subtle changes were made to the design. The reverse, the back, originally showed two wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. In 1959, to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, the reverse was redesigned to feature the Lincoln Memorial, symbolizing his enduring legacy in American history. And it's this memorial reverse that you'll find on the 2004 penny we're talking about today. Now let's focus on that specific coin, the 2004 1 cent. The D mint mark below the date indicates it was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the main U.S. mint facilities alongside Philadelphia, San Francisco, and West Point. The Denver Mint has been producing coins since 1906, and it's known for striking billions of coins annually. In 2004, tens of billions of cents were produced across the mints, including hundreds of millions with the Denver Mint mark. At first glance, that means the 2004 cent is anything but rare. In fact, most are worth only their face value, 1 cent. But as any seasoned collector will tell you, rarity isn't always about mintage numbers. Sometimes, it's about condition, mistakes, and unique varieties, and this is where things get interesting. Before we dive into the potential value, let's talk about the basic specifications of the coin. The 2004 1 cent coin is composed of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, a composition that's been standard since 1982, when rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to switch from the traditional 95% copper planchets. It weighs 2.5 grams, has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters, and a plain, smooth edge. The obverse, as always, features Lincoln's bust facing right, with the word, Liberty, to his left, the date, 2004, to his right, and the mint mark, D, beneath it. Above Lincoln's head is the national motto, In God We Trust. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial design fills the center, with the denomination, 1 cent, at the bottom. United States of America at the top, and the motto, E pluribus unum, Latin for out of many one. Just above the memorial dot, it's a classic design, instantly recognizable and deeply symbolic. The Lincoln Memorial reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, is particularly notable for including a tiny statue of Lincoln visible between the columns if you look closely, a detail that many casual observers miss. It's a subtle nod to the man whose memory the coin honors, and a reminder of the weight of history carried by even the smallest pieces of money we use every day. So how does a coin like this, minted by the hundreds of millions, widely circulated, and seemingly ordinary, become worth a fortune? The answer lies in three words: condition, rarity, and error. Collectors are always on the hunt for coins in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially those that have been graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC at high levels such as MS67, MS68, or higher. A 2004 cent in a grade like MS68, nearly flawless under magnification, can already command a premium well above face value. Some have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But that's just the beginning. What truly excites the numismatic world are errors and varieties, accidental deviations from the normal minting process that result in unique and often valuable coins. And 2004 cents are known to have a few remarkable examples. Double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and even planchet errors have all been documented. Each type of error has its own story and its own market value, and the more dramatic or rare the error, the more collectors are willing to pay. In some cases, a spectacular error coin, like a 2004 cent struck on a dime planchet, or one with a dramatic doubled die, could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, or even more. But even beyond errors, there's a deeper, more speculative layer to the story: the possibility of a unique specimen or discovery coin, one that's so rare and historically significant that it transcends normal market values. In the world of numismatics, provenance and uniqueness can drive astronomical prices. Consider the 1794 flowing hair dollar, the first silver dollar ever minted by the United States, which sold for over $10 million. Or the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, a $20 gold coin that sold for over $18 million. These coins are valuable not just because they're rare, but because they tell a story. They're pieces of history. Some experts believe that if a unique 2004 cent were to emerge, perhaps a prototype, a transitional planchet, or an error of the world of coin collecting is a strange and fascinating ecosystem, and to truly understand how a single 2004 penny could be worth not just a few dollars but potentially millions, we have to dive deeper into the mechanics of the coin market itself. Coins are not simply pieces of metal. They are historical artifacts, cultural symbols, and investment assets all rolled into one. Their value is determined by a complex combination of factors: supply and demand, historical significance, rarity, condition, and collector psychology. And understanding how those forces work together is the key to understanding why a humble 1-cent coin might someday be worth as much as a private jet or a mansion. Let's start by examining one of the most fundamental drivers of coin value: condition. Most coins that come out of circulation show signs of wear, scratches, discoloration, contact marks, and other imperfections from years of handling. In the world of numismatics, these imperfections dramatically reduce value. A 2004 cent that's been circulating in pockets and cash registers for 2 decades is likely worth only 1 cent, maybe a few cents to a bulk collector. But coins that have been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, often called mint state, are in an entirely different league. These coins show no signs of wear, have brilliant original luster, and retain their sharp details just as they left the mint. The higher the grade, the more desirable the coin becomes. Professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, use a 70-point scale to assess a coin's condition. A coin graded MS60 is considered uncirculated but may show minor blemishes. MS65 is gem uncirculated, with only light marks. MS67 and above are considered superb gems, with virtually flawless surfaces visible even under magnification. For a modern coin like the 2004 cent, grades of MS-68 or MS-69 are extremely rare, and collectors will pay handsomely for them. Some of these high-grade examples have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. It's a simple matter of supply and demand. The number of coins in such perfect condition is tiny compared to the total mintage, and collectors who want the best are willing to pay a premium. But condition alone isn't the full story. The real fireworks begin when we add rarity into the mix, and nothing creates rarity quite like a mint error or die variety. During the minting process, thousands of tiny variables can lead to unexpected results. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during preparation, causing the design elements to be duplicated. A repunched mint mark occurs when the D mint mark was punched twice in slightly different locations. Off-center strikes happen when the blank planchet isn't seated correctly in the press, causing part of the design to be missing. These are just a few examples of the countless types of mint errors that can occur. Some errors are common and only add modest value. Others are spectacular and can make a coin worth hundreds or thousands of times its face value. A 2004 cent with a dramatic double die obverse, for example, might sell for several $1,000s depending on the severity and visibility of the doubling. A coin struck on the wrong planchet, for instance, if a blank meant for a dime or foreign coin accidentally ended up in the penny press, can fetch tens of thousands. And truly unique mint errors, the ones that exist as one-of-a-kind anomalies, can attract intense bidding wars among collectors. It's not just errors that matter, though. Varieties, intentional or unintentional differences in design, can also fuel collector demand. Over the decades, collectors have cataloged countless minor differences between coin issues, differences in the spacing of lettering, subtle changes to Lincoln's portrait, variations in die polish, and more. Some of these varieties are incredibly scarce, known only from a handful of surviving examples. A rare variety of the 2004 cent, if discovered and verified, could instantly become one of the most sought-after modern cents in existence. This brings us to the heart of why certain coins skyrocket in value: narrative. In numismatics, stories matter. A coin is not just a piece of metal, it's a tangible connection to a specific moment in history. The 2004 cent, for instance, is not merely a coin minted 20 years ago, it's a piece of early 21st century America. It was struck during a pivotal era of American history, in the years after the September 11th attacks, during wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, amid a rapidly changing economy and culture. To future collectors, these coins will be windows into that time period. And when combined with rarity, condition, or error, they become not just historical objects but historical artifacts, artifacts that tell a story, artifacts people will pay extraordinary amounts of money to own. Another important factor in the equation is the evolution of the coin market itself. In the past, coin collecting was primarily a hobby for enthusiasts, scholars, and historians. Today, it has become a major investment category. Rare coins are traded at international auctions, stored in vaults, and treated as alternative assets alongside art, wine, and luxury watches. Wealthy investors from around the world are diversifying their portfolios with tangible assets, and high-end coins are increasingly seen as a hedge against inflation, market volatility, and currency fluctuations. This influx of investment capital has pushed prices higher and higher, even for coins that once would have been considered niche collectibles. It's in this environment that a coin like the 2004 cent can achieve unimaginable values. Imagine a scenario in which a unique mint error is discovered, perhaps a 2004 cent struck on a rare experimental planchet, or a prototype design never intended for circulation. Imagine that it is the only known example, with ironclad provenance and documentation from the U.S. Mint archives. Imagine that it is graded MS-70, a perfect coin, with flawless surfaces and mirror-like luster. Imagine that major auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers promote it as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and billionaire collectors from around the world compete to own it. In such a scenario, the hammer price could climb into the tens of millions. It might sound far-fetched, but it has happened before, not with the 2004 cent, but with other coins. The 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle, a $20 gold piece that was never legally released into circulation, sold for $18.9 million in 2021. The 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, believed to be the very first silver dollar ever struck by the U.S. Mint, sold for over $10 million. Even a modern coin, the 2000-piece Sacagawea dollar struck on a copper-nickel planchet intended for a state quarter, sold for hundreds of thousands. These examples prove that extraordinary circumstances can transform an ordinary coin into a record-breaking auction star. Now, let's turn our attention to the symbolism and design elements that make the 2004 cent more than just a piece of money. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait, based on a photograph by Anthony Berger taken in 1864, is more than just a likeness. It is a statement of national identity. Lincoln represents unity, perseverance, and justice, values that continue to resonate deeply in American society. His image on the penny is not an accident. It was chosen to remind Americans of their shared ideals every time they handled the most common coin in their currency system. The inscription, "In God We Trust," first appearing on coins during the Civil War, reflects a tradition of national faith and resilience. Liberty, placed prominently beside Lincoln, encapsulates the very principle upon which the United States was founded. The reverse, with Gasparo's rendering of the Lincoln Memorial, is equally symbolic. Dedicated in 1922 and designed by architect Henry Bacon, the memorial is one of America's most important monuments, a place where countless historical moments, from Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech to presidential inaugurations, have unfolded. By placing the memorial on the reverse of the cent, the U.S. Mint created a powerful link between the nation's past and its present. One of the most fascinating aspects of the numismatic world is how prices evolve over time. A coin that was once considered common and worth only pocket change can, with the passage of years and the shift of collector demand, become a star of the auction world. This has been proven time and time again throughout coin history. In the 1950s and 1960s, for instance, many people dismissed early 20th century pennies as ordinary and unremarkable. Today, examples of those same coins, especially in pristine condition or with rare varieties, sell for thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. This pattern repeats itself in every generation. What seems ordinary today may become extraordinary tomorrow. And this is exactly why the 2004 cent is worth paying close attention to. Let's talk about the auction market for a moment. When a rare coin surfaces, particularly a modern coin with an unusual error or a superb grade, it often attracts intense interest from collectors and investors alike. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and Great Collections regularly feature modern coins in their sales, and the prices they achieve often defy expectations. For example, a 2004 Lincoln cent graded MS68 RD, standing for red, indicating original mint luster and coloration, has sold for over $2,000 in past auctions. That's already a 200,000-fold increase over its face value. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. When an error coin hits the auction block, for anyone serious about unlocking the hidden potential of a coin like the 2004 cent, understanding the process of grading and authentication is absolutely essential. In the numismatic world, grade is everything. It can transform a coin's value from pocket change to a small fortune. And the only way to achieve maximum market value, especially for rare varieties or potential multimillion-dollar discoveries, is to have your coin professionally graded and encapsulated by a trusted third-party grading service. The two most respected names in the industry are PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. These organizations have decades of experience authenticating, grading, and certifying coins, and their opinions carry immense weight with collectors and investors. A 2004 cent in a raw, ungraded state might sell for a few dollars, even if it's in excellent condition. But if that same coin is graded MS68 RD by PCGS or NGC and sealed in a tamper-proof holder with a certification number, its value could multiply tenfold or more. The grading process is meticulous. First, the coin is examined under magnification by multiple expert graders. They evaluate the coin's strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and eye appeal, among other factors. The coin is then assigned a grade on the 70-point Sheldon scale, where 1 represents a coin in the poorest condition imaginable and 70 represents a perfect, flawless coin with no visible imperfections even under 5x magnification. For modern coins like the 2004 cent, anything below MS65 is generally considered average or common. MS66 and MS67 are excellent and collectible. MS68 and above are scarce and highly desirable. MS69 and MS70 are exceedingly rare, and it's often these ultra-high grades that command the most astonishing prices. But grading isn't just about condition. It also provides authentication, confirmation that the coin is genuine and not altered or counterfeit. In a market where values can soar into the millions, authenticity is everything. Third-party certification removes doubt and provides a level of trust and transparency that buyers demand. And in the event of a major discovery, say, a never-before-seen error or variety, grading services can document and verify the coin's uniqueness, often giving it an official designation that dramatically increases its value. For collectors serious about the 2004 cent, submitting coins for grading should be part of a larger, more strategic approach, building a collection portfolio. Just as investors diversify their portfolios with stocks, bonds, and real estate, numismatists diversify theirs with coins of different types, grades, and price points. A well-rounded Lincoln cent portfolio might include key dates like 1909 SVDB or 1914D, high-grade modern issues, rare varieties, and major mint errors. Within that framework, a top-tier 2004 cent, especially one with a rare error or a superb grade, can serve as a cornerstone. Some collectors take a different approach, building what's known as a registry set, a complete set of coins graded by a third-party service and ranked against other collectors' sets. Registry sets are fiercely competitive, and collectors often pay significant premiums for coins that help them climb the rankings. A high-grade 2004 cent can be a crucial piece of a modern Lincoln cent registry set, and the competition to secure such coins can drive prices higher than anyone expects. But let's talk about something deeper, something that goes beyond grading, investing, and even collecting. At the heart of the numismatic world lies a powerful force that defies logic: emotion. People don't spend millions of dollars on coins purely for financial reasons. They do it because coins speak to something profound within us. They are physical links to the past, tangible reminders of who we are, where we've been, and what we value. They are symbols of national identity, personal memory, and human achievement. Owning a rare coin isn't just about wealth, it's about connection. This emotional dimension drives some of the most extraordinary prices in the coin world. Consider the buyers who spend tens of millions on a single coin. These are often individuals who already have everything: mansions, yachts, art collections, even private islands. For them, the appeal isn't simply monetary. It's about owning something that no one else has. It's about possessing a piece of history that will outlast them. It's about legacy. A unique 2004 penny that makes headlines as the most valuable modern cent ever sold could become a centerpiece of such a legacy, a trophy asset that represents not just wealth, but taste, knowledge, and vision. Psychologists who study collector behavior have noted that ownership of rare and unique items activates the same reward centers in the brain as achievements, social recognition, and even love. Collectors often speak of their coins with deep affection, even reverence. They describe them not as objects, but as companions, teachers, and pieces of their identity. This is why coins that tell a story, coins like a potentially unique 2004 cent, are so much more valuable than their metal content suggests. They are vessels for meaning, and that meaning extends far beyond individual collectors. Coins are national symbols. They are artifacts of government, history, art, and economics all at once. When a country mints a coin, it tells a story about what that nation values, its leaders, its ideals, its achievements. The Lincoln cent tells the story of a nation's struggle for unity and equality. It tells the story of a president who guided the country through its darkest hours. It tells the story of a people who believe in liberty, faith, and perseverance. And the 2004 cent struck at a moment of global change, and when we look at the 2004 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would toss into a jar without a second thought, we're forced to confront a fundamental truth about value itself. Value is not an inherent property of an object. It's a story we tell about that object. A penny is worth 1 cent because we agree that it is. But if we agree that it's worth more, if we see rarity, history, beauty, and meaning in it, then its value can become something far greater. This is what transforms a small copper-plated disc into a coveted artifact. This is what allows a coin that cost a fraction of a cent to produce to someday command tens of millions at auction. Throughout history, the most valuable coins in the world were not necessarily the rarest, the oldest, or the most beautiful, though they were often all three. What truly set them apart was the story they told. The 1933 double eagle is one of the most famous coins on Earth, not only because of its scarcity, but because of its dramatic backstory, a coin that was never meant to exist, tied up in legal battles, seized by the government, and eventually sold for nearly $19 million. The 1794 flowing hair dollar is prized not just for its age, but because it represents the birth of America's monetary system. And the 1804 draped bust silver dollar, often called the king of American coins, commands millions not only because so few exist, but because it was struck decades after its date for diplomatic gifts, making it a piece of international history. The 2004 cent, humble as it seems, carries a story too. It represents an era, a moment in the early 21st century when the world was changing faster than ever before. It's a relic of a time when physical currency still flowed through our hands daily, before digital wallets and virtual payments became the norm. It's a snapshot of American identity, Lincoln's face, the Lincoln Memorial, the mottos that define the nation. And it's a testament to the ingenuity and precision of modern minting technology, a process that can create billions of coins but still sometimes produces the unexpected and the extraordinary. There's a quiet poetry in this. The idea that something so small and ordinary could carry such immense historical weight. The idea that within the most commonplace of objects lies the potential for discovery, wonder, and transformation. Every great treasure hunt begins with the belief that there's more to the story than meets the eye. And every great coin, no matter how unremarkable it seems at first, begins its journey to greatness in someone's pocket, someone's wallet, someone's change jar. And this is where the story becomes personal. Because the truth is, the next chapter of the 2004 cent story might be written by you. It might be written by a collector who stumbles upon an error coin in a roll of bank-wrapped cents. It might be written by a young enthusiast who pulls a nearly perfect MS-69 from circulation and decides to submit it for grading. It might be written by a seasoned numismatist who recognizes a previously undocumented variety and publishes their findings, sparking a wave of interest that transforms the coin's place in history. It might even be written by someone who never thought twice about coins until one day, curiosity led them to take a closer look. This is the magic of numismatics. It invites everyone to participate. You don't need a fortune to start. You don't need a degree in history or art. All you need is curiosity, patience, and a willingness to look closely at the world around you. Coins are everywhere, billions of them, and yet within that sea of metal, there are still mysteries waiting to be discovered. Hidden rarities. Forgotten varieties. Errors no one has noticed. Stories no one has told. And the 2004 cent is proof of that. It's proof that even in the most common coin, there's potential for greatness. But let's step into the realm of imagination one final time and picture what the ultimate discovery might look like. Perhaps a 2004 cent exists that was struck on a leftover 95% copper planchet from before 1982, a transitional error that would be virtually unique. Perhaps a small number were struck with a prototype reverse design never intended for circulation, a design that was rejected at the last moment and lost to history. Perhaps one was double struck in a way so dramatic and so visually striking that it becomes the most famous error of its kind. Or perhaps, hidden in a private collection somewhere, There's a coin that defies everything we thought we knew, a one-of-one piece that rewrites the history of modern minting. If such a coin were discovered, authenticated, and brought to auction, the resulting frenzy would be unlike anything the coin market has ever seen. Collectors and investors from around the globe would descend upon the sale. Major media outlets would cover the story. Documentaries would be made. Books would be written. And when the auctioneer's hammer finally fell, the price could break every record ever set for a US cent. It could climb past 1 million, 5 million, 10 million. It could push beyond 20 or 30 million as bidding wars erupted. And if the coin were truly one of a kind, a once-in-a-century discovery, it's entirely possible that the final price could reach that almost mythic figure, $45 million. At that point, the 2004 cent would cease to be just a coin. It would become a cultural icon, a symbol of how history, chance, and human curiosity can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. It would sit alongside the most valuable artifacts of human civilization, the Mona Lisa, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Apollo 11 command module. It would be displayed in museums, written about in textbooks, and remembered for generations as the coin that proved that even the smallest, simplest objects can hold unimaginable worth. And perhaps that's the real lesson here, not just about coins, but about life itself. The things we overlook, the things we dismiss as insignificant, often turn out to be the most remarkable of all. A penny is not just a penny. It's a piece of history, a piece of art, a piece of human ingenuity. It's a story, one that has been unfolding for over a century and one that continues to this day. And every time we stop to look at a coin like the 2004 cent, we're reminded that history isn't something locked away in museums or buried in textbooks. It's right here, in our hands, circulating quietly through our lives. So the next time you find a 2004 penny, whether it's shiny and new or worn and dull, take a moment to think about what it represents. Think about the millions of stories it has passed through. Think about the journey it's taken to get to you. And think about the possibility that, in your hands, you might be holding something extraordinary. Because maybe, just maybe, that little coin is more than just 1 cent. Maybe it's a piece of history. Maybe it's a hidden treasure. Maybe, under the right circumstances, it's worth $45 million. And if that sounds impossible, remember this: every great discovery in numismatics once sounded impossible too. No one believed that a gold coin could be worth more than a mansion, or that a silver dollar could sell for more than a Picasso. But they did. And someday, perhaps, the 2004 cent will join their ranks. Until then, the story continues, in the hands of collectors, in the vaults of investors, in the hearts of those who understand that sometimes, the smallest things hold the greatest mysteries. And that is the beauty of the 2004 1 cent coin. Not just as a piece of money, but as a piece of history. Not just as a collectible, but as a symbol of how ordinary things can become extraordinary. Not just as a curiosity, but as a reminder that value is a story, and that story is still being written. Maybe by a future collector. Maybe by you. And maybe, just maybe, by a single little penny that one day changes the world. When you begin to truly explore the universe of coins, you realize that it is far deeper, stranger, and more fascinating than most people ever imagine. It's not just about metal and mint marks, it's about stories that span centuries, mysteries that remain unsolved, and obsessions that consume entire lifetimes. And the 2004 1-cent coin, humble though it may seem, is a doorway into that world. Once you step through it, you start to see everything differently. Every penny becomes a question. Every coin becomes a clue. Every tiny imperfection becomes a potential treasure map leading you towards something extraordinary. One of the most captivating aspects of coin collecting is the realm of numismatic legends, stories that have circulated for decades, whispered at coin shows, written about in obscure journals, or passed down among collectors like secret knowledge. Some of these stories are true. Some are partly true. And some exist in that shadowy space between fact and folklore. But all of them remind us of one thing, that the world of coins is full of surprises. There's the story of the anonymous Midwestern collector who, in the late 1980s, purchased a bag of pennies from a small-town bank and discovered a transitional error worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's the tale of a schoolteacher who inherited a box of coins from a relative, only to find a rare 1969 double-die Lincoln cent, a coin so valuable that it transformed their life overnight. There's the story of a janitor at a federal building who rescued a coffee can full of discarded change from a trash bin, unaware that one of the coins inside was a multi-million-dollar rarity. And there are countless others, stories of discoveries made by accident, by luck, by sheer curiosity. Could a story like that someday involve a 2004 cent? Absolutely. It might already have happened, quietly, privately, with a collector who prefers anonymity. Or it might happen tomorrow, to someone who doesn't even consider themselves a collector yet. That possibility is what makes every single coin hunt thrilling. Because in numismatics, every pocket of change holds the potential for a once-in-a-lifetime find, and the 2004 cent, with its massive mintage and wide circulation, is particularly fertile ground for such discoveries. Remember, the more coins minted, the more opportunities for minting errors, die varieties, or production anomalies to occur. With over 3 billion examples produced in Denver alone, the odds are high that some extraordinary errors slipped through. Maybe a few coins were struck on foreign planchets intended for another denomination. Maybe some show dramatic die clashes, broad strikes, or even multiple strikes. Maybe some were struck using a misaligned collar or with a rotated reverse. Each of these errors tells its own story, and each has the potential to elevate a coin's value into the stratosphere. But beyond mint errors, there's another, more mysterious realm, pattern coins. These are experimental pieces created by the US Mint to test new designs, materials, or production techniques. Most pattern coins are never released to the public. They're archived, destroyed, or locked away in government collections. But a handful have escaped into private hands over the years, often by accident. If a 2004 cent pattern, perhaps one with a different reverse design or composition, were ever to surface, it would be an event of monumental significance. Such a coin could be unique. It could rewrite numismatic history. And it could command a price so high that even the $45 million figure might no longer seem far-fetched. The idea of a single penny being worth tens of millions might seem absurd at first. But it's worth remembering that value is not always tied to size, weight, or even intrinsic material. A single postage stamp, the British Guiana 1C Magenta, once sold for nearly $9.5 million. A small rectangle of paper, worth 1 cent when it was issued, now valued more than most mansions. The same principle applies to coins. A penny is not just a penny. When rarity, demand, and historical significance intersect, and that intersection is becoming more powerful with each passing year. As physical currency slowly fades from everyday use, coins are evolving from tools of commerce into artifacts of culture. Their role is shifting. They are no longer just money, they are memories, milestones, and symbols. The Lincoln cent, in particular, is a cultural icon. It is instantly recognizable not just in the United States, but around the world. Its design, Lincoln's solemn profile, the enduring words, "In God we trust," the depiction of the nation's capital, transcends its function. It is art. It is history. And for many, it is nostalgia. This transformation from currency to cultural artifact is already influencing the coin market. As millennials and Gen Z collectors enter the hobby, they bring with them new perspectives and new motivations. They are drawn not only to ancient gold or colonial silver, but also to the coins they grew up with, the coins they handled as children, the coins they received as change for their first purchases, the coins they tucked away in jars and piggy banks. The 2004 cent belongs to that generation. And as they grow older, wealthier, and more nostalgic, demand for pristine, rare, or unusual examples of this coin is almost certain to rise. But perhaps the most fascinating dimension of the 2004 cent's potential is philosophical. It forces us to reconsider our understanding of worth. How can a coin worth 1 cent become worth $45 million? The answer lies in a profound truth: value is a reflection of meaning. A coin's worth is not determined by the metal it contains, but by the story it carries, the history it represents, and the desire it inspires. When those three forces converge, rarity, narrative, and demand, the result can be extraordinary. Imagine, for example, that a 2004 cent was discovered with an era so spectacular, so visually dramatic, that it became world famous overnight. Imagine that museums, media outlets, and historians all clamored to study it. Imagine that it became a symbol of the unpredictability of the minting process, of the enduring fascination with physical money, of the beauty of imperfection. In that scenario, the coin would no longer be a mere object, it would be a story, a phenomenon, a cultural touchstone. And stories, unlike copper, are priceless. And there's another layer still, the human one. Collecting is deeply human. It speaks to our desire to preserve, to connect, to find order and meaning in the world. It's why we keep photographs, why we save letters, why we collect souvenirs. A coin is all of those things at once: a memory, a piece of art, a tangible link to a specific time and place. And when we hold a coin like the 2004 cent, we're holding not just a piece of metal, but a piece of ourselves, our history, our culture, our collective journey. That's why the pursuit of coins is more than a hobby. For many, it's a lifelong passion. And for some, it's a legacy, something to be passed down to future generations. Imagine the pride of handing down a collection to a child or grandchild, knowing that among those coins lies a piece of history that could one day change their life. Imagine the wonder on their face when they learn that a simple penny, struck in Denver in 2004, could be one of the most valuable objects on Earth. This is the power of numismatics. It's about more than money. It's about discovery, history, legacy, and connection. It's about seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. And the 2004 cent embodies all of that. It is a reminder that greatness can hide in plain sight. That treasures can be found in the most unexpected places. That even the smallest things can carry the weight of history. And so, the next time you pick up a penny, don't dismiss it. Don't toss it aside. Look at it closely. Study its details. Examine its surfaces. Ask yourself questions. Could this be a rare variety? Could this be an error? Could this be the one that changes everything? Because someone, somewhere, is going to make that discovery. Someone, somewhere, is going to find the coin that. If you've stayed with this story from the beginning, then by now you understand that the 2004 1 cent coin is not just a piece of metal. It is a vessel of meaning. It is a key to a larger story, one about history, rarity, human curiosity, and the extraordinary potential that hides in plain sight. But understanding the story is only the first step. The next step is knowing how to become part of it. And that means learning how to approach this world, not as a casual observer, but as a prepared collector, an informed historian, and a patient treasure hunter. The first rule of serious collecting is simple: education is everything. Before you ever purchase a coin, before you ever submit one for grading, before you ever attend an auction, you must become a student of the hobby. Learn how to identify mint marks. Learn how to spot doubled dies, repunched mint marks, off-center strikes, and planchet errors. Study die varieties and die states. Read auction catalogs and grading guides. Familiarize yourself with the subtle differences that separate a $1 coin from a $10,000 coin. Because in numismatics, knowledge is not just power, it is profit. The second rule is patience. Too many people enter the hobby looking for instant riches, hoping to stumble upon $1 million coin in a handful of change. That happens, but it is rare. The most successful collectors are those who understand that coin collecting is a marathon, not a sprint. They know that the real reward is not just the discovery itself, but the process, the hours spent searching, the thrill of the hunt, the joy of learning. The longer you stay in the game, the more likely you are to find something truly remarkable. And when that moment comes, the patience will have been worth it. The third rule is condition. In the coin world, condition is king. A coin's grade can mean the difference between a minor collectible and a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. If you're searching through rolls of pennies or checking your change, always handle coins carefully, by the edges, never the faces. Use cotton gloves if possible. Store your finds in protective holders or flips to prevent damage. And when you believe you've found something special, don't clean it. Cleaning can destroy a coin's value instantly. Let the professionals handle preservation when the time comes. The fourth rule is documentation. Keep records of what you find, where you found it, and any information you can gather about it. If you decide to submit coins for grading, your documentation will become part of the coin's story, and that story can add to its value. Provenance matters. A coin that comes with a documented history often commands higher prices than one without. And then there's the fifth rule, perhaps the most important of all: never underestimate the power of the ordinary. Remember, the 2004 cent was never meant to be rare. It was minted by the billions. It was designed to be spent, forgotten, discarded. But that is precisely what makes it so fascinating. It hides in plain sight. It blends in. And that camouflage is what allows extraordinary discoveries to remain undiscovered for years, even decades. Some of the greatest coin finds in history were made not in bank vaults or auction houses, but in pockets, drawers, and piggy banks. And some of the most valuable coins were once dismissed as worthless. Now let's talk about the moment every collector dreams of: the auction. The auction room is where coins transcend their face value and enter the realm of legend. It's where passion meets competition, where history meets wealth, and where fortunes are made in the blink of an eye. If a 2004 cent with a spectacular error or a unique variety were ever to cross the auction block, the energy in the room would be electric. Bidders would fly in from around the world. Phone lines would light up. Online platforms would crash under the weight of global attention. And with every raise of the paddle, the price would climb higher and higher. Auction strategy, like coin collecting itself, is an art. The key is preparation. Know the coin you're bidding on inside and out. Research its rarity, its provenance, and recent sales of similar pieces. Set a budget, and stick to it. Emotions run high in the auction room, and it's easy to get swept up in the excitement. But discipline is the difference between a wise purchase and an expensive mistake. And if you're selling a coin, especially one as significant as a rare 2004 cent, timing is everything. Watch the market. Pay attention to trends. Choose a reputable auction house with experience handling high-profile pieces. Presentation matters too. Professional photography, detailed descriptions, and historical context can all influence the final price. But beyond the mechanics of collecting, grading, and selling, there's something deeper, something that brings us full circle to the very heart of this story. The 2004 cent is, in the end, a metaphor. It's a reminder that value is not always obvious. That the most extraordinary things often come wrapped in ordinary appearances. That the difference between a penny and a fortune is often nothing more than knowledge, patience, and perspective. It teaches us to look closer, to think deeper, to never dismiss something simply because it seems insignificant. And in that lesson, there's a reflection of life itself. We walk past countless possibilities every day without noticing them. We overlook opportunities because they seem too small. We ignore potential because it's disguised as something familiar. But if the story of the 2004 cent teaches us anything, it's that greatness is everywhere. If only we know how to see it. So what does the future hold for this humble coin? Perhaps nothing more than continued circulation and quiet obscurity. Or perhaps a single discovery, a unique error, a lost pattern, a one-of-a-kind specimen, will catapult it into the pantheon of numismatic legends. Perhaps one day, long after physical currency has vanished from daily life, a pristine 2004 cent will cross the auction block and sell for $45 million, forever changing our understanding of what a penny can be. Until that day comes, the coin waits, billions of them, scattered across the country and the world, tucked away in drawers, resting in jars, jingling in pockets, forgotten in change trays. Among them might be one that will rewrite history. Among them might be the next great discovery. Among them might be the penny that proves, once and for all, that even the smallest things can hold infinite value. And maybe, right now, one of those coins is in your possession. Maybe it's sitting in a coffee can on a shelf. Maybe it's lying on the ground somewhere, unnoticed. Maybe it's waiting to be found. All you need to do is look. Because in the world of coins, as in life, the extraordinary is often hiding in plain sight. So go ahead. Start searching. Open that old jar of pennies. Go through that roll from the bank. Study every detail. Because when you hold a 2004 cent in your hand, you're not just holding a piece of copper-plated zinc. You're holding a piece of American history. You're holding a symbol of endurance and evolution. You're holding a story that began over a century ago and is still being written today. And who knows, you might just be holding a fortune, and if someday one of those little coins does sell for $45 million, it won't be the copper or the weight, or even the design that makes it valuable. It will be the story, a story of history and chance, of passion and patience, of discovery and destiny. A story that began with a single cent and ended with a symbol of infinite worth. And that story, in the end, is the story of us all. In the end, it all comes back to a single, simple object. A small disc of copper-plated zinc. 1 cent. A coin that most people will pass over without even seeing it. A coin that millions of people will spend and forget in the space of a heartbeat. A coin that slips through the fabric of daily life like a grain of sand in an endless desert. And yet, hidden within that single coin is a universe of meaning. It is a piece of art. It is a tool of commerce. It is a fragment of national identity. It is a witness to history. It is a time capsule from a moment that will never come again. It is a reminder that even the smallest things can change the course of the world. The 2004 1 cent piece is not rare by design. It was not created as a masterpiece. It was not struck to commemorate an event or honor a hero. It was struck to serve a purpose, to keep the machinery of everyday life moving. And yet, in that simplicity lies its power. Because the things that are most ordinary are often the things that become most extraordinary. The objects we take for granted are often the ones that, given enough time and context, become priceless. And in that transformation, we are reminded of a truth that applies not only to coins but to life itself. Greatness is not always born great. Sometimes it begins humbly. Sometimes it begins as a penny. Think about what that means. Think about the journey a single coin takes from the moment it leaves the press. It travels from the mint to a bank, from a bank to a store, from a store to a pocket, from a pocket to a jar. Along the way, it witnesses millions of human stories, purchases, exchanges, acts of kindness, moments of need. It is there in times of celebration and times of struggle. It is passed between friends, strangers, families, generations. And every mark, every scratch, every worn edge is a chapter in that story. Even the most pristine uncirculated specimen carries the story of the time and place in which it was struck, the technology, the art, the politics, the people. And that story is worth far more than 1 cent. Perhaps that is why we collect. Perhaps that is why we search. We are not just seeking metal and mint marks. We are seeking stories. We are seeking connections to something larger than ourselves. We are seeking to hold history in our hands. And when we find a coin like the 2004 cent, when we study it, cherish it, preserve it, we are participating in a story that stretches back more than a century and will continue long after we are gone. And who knows where that story will go next? Maybe one day, decades from now, long after physical currency has vanished from everyday life, a single 2004 cent will appear at an auction and ignite a bidding war unlike anything the world has ever seen. Maybe that coin will sell for $45 million, or even more. Maybe it will become a legend, studied by scholars, displayed in museums, revered by collectors. Maybe it will become a symbol of how the smallest things can hold the greatest value. And maybe its story will inspire a new generation of dreamers, historians, and treasure hunters to look closer at the world around them and wonder what secrets are hiding in plain sight. But even if that day never comes, even if the 2004 cent never breaks records or makes headlines, it will still matter. It will still be part of a story that connects us all. It will still be a reminder of where we've been and who we are. And for those who understand its significance, that alone makes it priceless. There's something deeply poetic about that. The idea that a 1 cent coin, the smallest denomination, the humblest piece of money, could hold such immense weight. The idea that it could become a symbol of perseverance, transformation, and the hidden value that lies beneath the surface of ordinary things. The idea that what we overlook today might be what we treasure tomorrow. It's a lesson not just about coins, but about life, because in many ways we are all like that penny. We all start small. We all pass through countless hands and countless stories. We all get scratched and worn by time. And yet, each of us carries within us a history, a potential, a value that cannot be measured by the surface alone. We are all capable of becoming something greater than we appear. We are all capable of becoming extraordinary. So, as this journey comes to a close, remember this: the next time you hold a penny, especially a 2004 cent, don't just see a coin. See a story. See a piece of history. See the invisible threads that connect it to billions of lives and countless moments. See the possibility that within that tiny piece of metal lies a fortune waiting to be discovered. See the reminder that value is not defined by numbers on a price tag, but by the meaning we give it. And if you're lucky, if you're curious, persistent, and just a little bit daring, maybe one day you'll be the one to discover the coin that changes everything. Maybe one day you'll be the one who holds in your hand a penny worth $45 million. And when that day comes, you'll know that the real treasure was never the money. The real treasure was the journey, the search, the stories, the knowledge, the history, the wonder. The real treasure was the way a single coin taught you to see the extraordinary hiding in the ordinary. Because in the end, that's what the 2004 cent is really about. It's not about copper or zinc. It's not about mint marks or grades. It's not even about money. It's about discovery. It's about history. It's about human curiosity and imagination. It's about the magic that happens when we look a little closer at the world around us and realize that even the smallest things, a penny, a moment, a memory, can hold infinite value. And that is the true worth of the 2004 1 cent coin. Not just the millions it might someday command, but the way it reminds us to keep searching, to keep wondering, and to never stop believing that there is more to the world than meets the eye. Because sometimes, the greatest treasures are the ones we've been holding all along. If there's one truth that echoes through every corner of numismatics, it's this: the story never truly ends. Even as we conclude this journey into the world of the 2004 D1 cent coin, the narrative continues to evolve, to branch off in unexpected directions, to surprise us with new discoveries and new revelations. Coins have a way of doing that. They are not static objects, they are living artifacts, constantly reshaping our understanding of history and value with every new find, every new auction, every new pair of eyes that studies them. And perhaps that is what makes the 2004 D-cent so fascinating. Because unlike a rare gold coin locked away in a museum, or a silver dollar sealed in a private vault, this coin is everywhere. It lives in circulation. It hides in change drawers and old piggy banks. It travels silently from hand to hand, unnoticed and unremarked upon, even as it carries with it the potential to make history. The very fact that it is so common is what makes it so extraordinary. Because among those billions of coins, there may be one, or a handful, that are unlike any others. And the person who finds them will rewrite the story of this humble cent forever. For those who wish to be part of that story, there are paths to follow, tried and tested by generations of collectors. One of the most rewarding is roll searching, obtaining rolls of pennies from banks and methodically examining each one under good lighting and magnification. It's a practice that requires patience and persistence, but the rewards can be astonishing. Rare doubled dies, misstrikes, transitional planchets, even previously unknown varieties have been discovered this way. Many of the most valuable modern cents ever found, worth thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars, were pulled from ordinary bank rolls by sharp-eyed collectors who knew what to look for. Another powerful strategy is estate and collection hunting. Many families inherit coin collections without realizing what they contain. Some of the greatest discoveries in modern numismatics have emerged from dusty albums, old cigar boxes, and forgotten drawers. Attending estate sales, auctions, and coin shows can sometimes yield unexpected treasures, and among those treasures, a rare 2004 D-cent could be waiting, overlooked by those who don't recognize its significance. And then there's the digital frontier. Online marketplaces have transformed the landscape of collecting, bringing millions of coins within reach of collectors around the world. But with that opportunity comes risk. Counterfeits, altered coins, and misleading listings are more common than ever. Knowledge, again, is the key to navigating this world. Learn how to spot red flags. Learn how to verify authenticity. And above all, buy from reputable dealers, auction houses, and certified sources whenever possible. Yet even as we discuss strategies and techniques, it's worth remembering that the most valuable discoveries are often the ones no one sees coming. The numismatic world is filled with stories of chance encounters. A coin found in a handful of pocket change, a rare variety spotted on a whim, a legendary piece pulled from a jar of coins that had sat untouched for decades. These stories remind us that while skill and knowledge are essential, there is also a kind of magic to this pursuit, a magic that keeps collectors searching year after year, decade after decade, and that magic extends far beyond the borders of any one country. The story of the 2004 D-cent is not just an American story, it is part of a global tradition that spans thousands of years. From the drachmas of ancient Greece to the aurei of imperial Rome, from the silver tails of imperial China to the gold mohurs of Mughal India, coins have always been more than currency. They are symbols of power, markers of identity, tools of diplomacy, and works of art. They have built empires, recorded revolutions, and connected civilizations. And today, they continue to do so, carrying history in their metal and meaning in their designs. The Lincoln cent is a continuation of that tradition. It is a piece of America's story, a story of struggle, sacrifice, and resilience. The face of Abraham Lincoln, etched into its surface, is a reminder of a nation's darkest hours and its greatest triumphs. The motto, "In God We Trust," speaks to ideals that transcend time and place. Even the small D beneath the date, the mint mark of Denver, is a symbol of American ingenuity and industry. And that's what makes the 2004 D-cent so much more than a coin. It is a message. It is a monument. It is a thread in the fabric of human history, and it's a thread that will continue to unravel far into the future. Imagine the world a century from now. Physical money has all but vanished. Digital currency reigns supreme. Children learn about coins in history books the way we now learn about hieroglyphs and clay tablets. And yet, in museums and private collections, the 2004 cent remains, a relic of a different era, a tangible link to a time when value could be held in the palm of one's hand. Scholars study it. Collectors covet it. Stories are told about the people who owned it, the events it witnessed, the journeys it took. Its value, both historical and monetary, has grown beyond anything anyone in 2004 could have imagined. Perhaps by then, a single specimen, maybe a one-of-a-kind error, maybe a perfectly preserved MS-70 example, maybe a coin with a story so unique it defies belief, will hold a place of honor in a museum, insured for $45 million or more. Perhaps it will be displayed alongside other icons of human achievement, the Declaration of Independence, the Apollo 11 lunar module, the original printing of the Constitution. And perhaps, standing before it, a future collector will marvel at how something so small could hold so much significance. It's a humbling thought. Because it reminds us that history is not made only by great events and powerful people. Sometimes it is made by the smallest things, a word, a decision, a moment, a coin. And the 2004 cent is proof of that. It is proof that greatness can arise from the ordinary. That the most valuable treasures often begin as the most common objects. That the difference between 1 cent and $45 million is not in the metal, but in the meaning we attach to it. As this story draws closer to its end, let it leave you with one final idea, one final challenge. The next time you see a penny, don't look past it. Pick it up. Examine it. Look at the date, the mint mark, the details of its design. Think about the hands it's passed through, the stories it's witnessed, the potential it carries. Because somewhere in that sea of copper and zinc, there might be one coin that will change your life forever. And even if you never find that one extraordinary penny, the search itself will change you. It will teach you patience. It will sharpen your eyes and your mind. It will connect you to history in ways you never expected. It will give you stories to tell and discoveries to share. It will remind you, again and again, that the world is full of hidden wonders, if only you know how to look for them. Because in the end, the hunt for the 2004 cent is not just about coins. It's about curiosity. It's about wonder. It's about the endless human desire to seek, to understand, to discover. It's about the belief that even in the most ordinary places, even in the change at the bottom of your pocket, there is something extraordinary waiting to be found. And that belief, more than any amount of money, is what makes this journey worthwhile. And now, after all the history, the details, the minting, the rarity, the errors, the market value, the $45 million dream, and the centuries of meaning behind a single copper coin, we arrive at the end of our journey. But the truth is, there is no real ending, only a new beginning. Because this story does not stop with me telling it. It continues every time someone looks more closely at a coin they once ignored. It continues every time a collector opens a roll of pennies with excitement in their chest. It continues every time a child holds a cent in their hand and wonders who touched it before them and what stories it could tell. That is the magic of the 2004 1 cent coin. It doesn't just belong to history. It belongs to the future. There's something profound about that idea. The thought that a piece of metal smaller than your thumb, lighter than a button, worth only 1 cent, can carry within it so much power. Power to teach. Power to inspire. Power to connect generations separated by centuries. It has passed through countless lives, witnessed billions of moments, and yet still has the capacity to surprise and change everything in an instant. That is the nature of coins. That is the nature of history. That is the nature of value, not something fixed and unchanging, but something alive, evolving, and infinitely complex. When the Denver Mint struck that 2004 descent, they had no way of knowing what stories it would become a part of. They didn't know that decades later, people would be searching for it in the hopes of finding a rare treasure. They didn't know it would become the subject of videos, books, conversations, and dreams. They couldn't have imagined that one day, a single example might command a price so vast, $45 million or more, that it would defy all expectations of what a penny could be. And yet here we are, telling that story, living that story, shaping that story with every passing day. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson of all. That nothing is truly insignificant. That no object, no moment, no detail is too small to matter. Because everything, even a 1-cent coin, has the potential to become something extraordinary. All it takes is the right circumstances, the right discovery, the right story. And in that sense, the 2004 cent is more than a coin. It's a metaphor. It's a mirror held up to our own lives. It's a reminder that just as a penny can become a fortune, so too can a small act of curiosity lead to a great discovery. A small dream can become a great reality. A small person can change the world. And so, as you leave this story behind and go back to your own world, I offer you this final thought, a collector's oath, a seeker's promise, a timeless truth: never stop looking closer. Never stop asking questions. Never stop wondering what lies beneath the surface of the ordinary. Because the ordinary is where the extraordinary hides. It hides in the cracks of history, in the corners of drawers, in the folds of forgotten wallets, and yes, in the gleam of a 1-cent coin minted in 2004 in Denver, Colorado. The next time you hold a penny, pause. Feel its weight, 2.5 grams of copper-plated zinc. See the face of Lincoln staring back through time. Read the inscriptions that have endured for generations: "In God we trust." Liberty. United States of America. 1 cent. Think about the millions of people who have held it before you, the millions who will hold it after you. Think about the journeys it has taken and the ones it has yet to make. And then ask yourself the question that lies at the heart of this entire story: could this be the one? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Maybe the real treasure isn't the coin itself, but the journey of searching for it. Maybe the real reward is not the $45 million headline, but the connection you forge with the past and the passion you discover in yourself. Maybe, in the end, the coin is simply a key that unlocks the infinite wonder of human curiosity and reminds us that even the smallest objects can open the biggest doors. And so this is where our journey ends, not with a final answer, but with a beginning. The beginning of your story. The beginning of your search. The beginning of a new chapter in the life of a coin that was never supposed to be special, and yet, somehow, is. The 2004 1-cent piece will continue its journey long after this video ends. It will continue to circulate, to disappear and reappear, to hide and reveal itself, to slip quietly through the fabric of time. And maybe, just maybe, it will find its way into your hands. When it does, I hope you remember everything you've learned here. I hope you see not just a coin, but a symbol of history, of perseverance, of hidden value, of the endless capacity of the human spirit to seek and to discover. And I hope that, in that moment, you smile, because you will know that you are part of something much bigger than yourself. You are part of a story that spans centuries. You are part of a journey that has no end, and if you are lucky, if fate smiles upon you, maybe that little penny will change your life. Maybe it will lead you to a discovery worth more than money. Maybe it will teach you that the most valuable things are not measured in dollars and cents, but in curiosity, passion, and the stories we tell. Because in the end, that is what the 2004 cent truly represents. It is not just a coin. It is not just a collectible. It is a reminder. A reminder that value is everywhere, that history lives in the smallest of places, and that even a 1-cent coin can hold the weight of the world. It is a reminder that the search is never over, and that, sometimes, the greatest treasures are the ones we never stop looking for. And with that, the story of the 2004 1-cent coin, its weight, its symbol, its design, its history, its incredible journey from a humble mint in Denver to the possibility of a $45 million legend, becomes your story too. Because now you know. Now you understand. And now the search belongs to you. So go out there. Open that drawer. Check that pocket change. Look a little closer. Because somewhere, hidden among billions, the next great discovery is waiting. And maybe, just maybe, it has been waiting for you all along.